Every once in a while we have to remind ourselves how precious the moments are in our life. So that keeps us in the now rather than in the past or in the future, because we know that everything that can happen and does happen is always in the now. So today is a little bit special, a little bit different in the fact that normally I do a talk for 20 to 25 minutes, but today it's a question and answer. That's why the chair. Normally I move all around, and the reason why I wear a lapel mic is because I never know where my hands are going and what I'm doing. But today I'm a little more stationary. So today the invitation is to ask any questions that you want about science of mind, anything that's been burning in your mind about science of mind, anything you've really wanted to know about Ernest Holmes. And we're teaching a class right now. We're in week 7 of the Essential Ernest Holmes. So I've been doing my rereading, and so I'm a little fresh for it. This is not Stump the Minister Day.
Oh.
Curtis has been billing it like that. I did leave my ego outside, though, so it's okay. I brought books, but I don't think I'll probably refer to them. You can tell this represents 15 years of reading and studying. I have every color in here and papers. And I picked up a habit of my father, who used to write in his Bible. He was a practicing Catholic who also prayed for people, and he meditated every day. He was New Thought, but he was a Catholic. And he would notate there when he would read different passages, and he showed this to me one day, and I thought, oh, that's really great, because I could see where he had read many different times. So I do that as well. And then living the science of mind. Sometimes these are stories and helpful pieces in here for different aspects of life. Now, the life that is written in here is some of us pre our generation. Ernest Holmes died in 1960, so you'll understand that was just a few years ago. But they're kind of like, they live forever in the words. So Curtis has the microphone here, and if somebody has a question, we can talk about it. And I might start off with a question that I heard. We had a retreat yesterday for the leadership, and actually all of you were invited, and I was disappointed that y'all didn't show up, but that's okay. We had the people that needed to be there were there, and you can come next year. We'll make sure that you're all there. But one of the things that were raised is, and this came out of the mouths of our youth when we were talking about tithing. Because some of you may know that tithing, I've talked about it before, tithing is a spiritual practice to me. Because one of our core concepts in religious science, and it actually has a number, it's called core concept number 8, is we believe in a law of circulation. Reciprocation. When you give out, it comes back to you. And so it's an ever-expanding world, so that when you give out, you always get more back, because it's an expansion that happens in the mind of God, it happens in the universe. So and you can't outgive God, many of my minister friends say, and I think that's true. And what it also says to the universe is that you appreciate what you are given and you share it back. You know that there is no limitation. For we know there is no limitation
so
in
Oprah
God.
Winfrey did not create that thought?
No.
No. Can you tell us what the question was?
I was going to. I had a little sidetrack there by my straight man. You are a straight man, right?
So a day hit me on.
So, we had so much fun. Anyway, this came out of our youth, and when we were talking about tithing, and our youth said, so why does God need money? Hello, good question, right? Because a lot of us came out of churches and things like that where we felt like all they wanted was money. They didn't care whether we sat in the seats, and I remember I'd gone to Catholic churches off and on over my life. I was reincarnated a few times as a Catholic in this lifetime. And one of the last times I visited, they had two offerings. They had an offering which was the regular collection, they had a seat offering. They wanted you to pay for the seat. And so the question comes, well, why does God need money? Well, God doesn't need money. God doesn't need anything. But to provide a space for you to come, to provide a space for you to be in community, to provide a space for us to train people, all of that does take money. That is, money is not really anything more than a symbol. We could use anything, and many of you're worldly, you've traveled to different countries, you know that the US dollar is only good in the United States in most places, and you have to convert that currency. So it's the currency of the land. So think of tithing. It's a currency that we get things done. It happens to be the metering. If it was 100 and 200 years ago, we'd have bartering. We'd have a store full of goats and chickens.
No, you
Because that would be it, you know? Maybe a few buckets of milk. I don't know. There'd be some eggs. We'd be having breakfast. So all it is it's a medium of exchange, but that's a necessary medium of exchange because God doesn't need the money, but the people who bring you this community and bring you this service, that is a medium of exchange that we must have to provide the service, and that's what that is all about. Does that answer anybody's lingering questions about why God needs money? Why do we pass that little plate around, you know? I will tell you that, and we're going to talk about this more later on this year, perhaps even in 30 days, that I believe tithing is a spiritual practice. Now, tithing, according to biblical terms, and I happen to use a New Age Bible for my quotes. It came out of Unity because it gives a totally different slant on what some of the more rigid, I'd say rigid, that sounds like a judgment. Some of the Bibles are quoted are a little more stringent in their interpretation, let me put it that way. And tithing, though, is a 10%. It just happens to be a landmark decision. You can do more. Tithing is just a commitment. So we are going to be talking later on about what tithing means if you want to tithe and what you can mean if you want to make a commitment. A commitment is a gift to support the center. Later on is not today. So breathe. Everybody stop breathing. Everybody was sucking in and said, oh, is he going to ask for money? Is he asking for money now? No, I'm not. I'm warming you up, though. I gave you advance warning, and I won't tell you the day I'm going to talk about it, because I want you to show up. I don't want you to say, oh, I'm sick that day. Oh, I don't feel well. So anyway, so that's the opening question. So what else? God needs money. What do you want to know about science of mind?
Here we go. Now what for you is direction here.
I'd just like to comment on the tithing. To me, I was raised in the Church of Christ, and talk about the dogma. I mean, it goes back to Abraham. And when they, in the Old Testament, under the law of Abraham, you gave your 10% of whatever you grew, and when you turned that in, then they gave you more seeds and more land to expand. And I think of it today in the same terms because giving is expanding.
Right.
And it's an old law.
That is said from the mouth of a practitioner intern, so yes. Another A.
Any other questions? Richard, you got something on the tip of your lips.
You might need a mic. And then Betty has one.
Okay.
So,
I mean Doris,
on,
not Betty. Sorry.
on spiritual mind treatment.
Closer to your mouth, please.
Spiritual
On
mind treatment.
spiritual mind treatment.
Yes. What about it?
Ernest Holmes at one point says you only do it once, and then at other points in the book he says you have to do it multiple times. So
All right. Are you? You might be referring to essentially, Ernest Holmes is a story in here
Yes.
where he and one of his ministers sat up all night with an alcoholic who didn't want to drink anymore, and they prayed for hours, and they took turns praying back and forth. And but then most places you read, what Ernest Holmes basically has said is there is one treatment for one event. And if you need to, because the truth has not been revealed the way the client wants it, because it's all about the client manifestation. But the manifestation really happens in the prayer's mind. So if you come to me with a challenge and I am praying for you, what I am doing, you already believe the stuff that's happening to you is real. And what I know is that's not the truth of who you are. And so in my knowing the truth of who you are, I stay above that, about the turmoil you are in. It doesn't mean I don't give you compassion and comfort, but I stay above because I know the truth. I know there's only perfection in God. And so I treat from that aspect. I treat from knowing the truth of who you are, that you are already whole, perfect, and complete. And there are no withholds. And then I treat for whatever it is that usually it's 180 degrees from whatever you're experiencing. If you're experiencing lack, I'm treating for abundance. And what I'm treating for is not to abundance to come into your life, because abundance is already in your life. What I'm treating for is for you to have the realization of the abundance in your life. So it's about an awakening and an awareness. I call it the AAA of spirituality. It's alive, awake, and aware. You are alive, you become awake and aware of that which you have. And so it is only treating once. We talk about treating again, and it's usually just to get clearer on it. And it's quite often, sometimes it's in the practitioner's mind, and sometimes it's in the client's mind. And it doesn't matter, because there is no effective prayer treatment until there's demonstration. Yeah, we have Doris first, and then Luz.
You got to hold real close to us.
Well, as we believe in oneness
Yes.
of all the creators, I'm thinking when I pray to God, I'm also praying to Allah and Rosas and, of course, Jehovah and any other creator, no matter what his name is, Sam or what.
Yeah.
And why can't we kind of push that a little? I mean, if you think I'm thinking okay.
You're thinking excellent. Matter of fact, I did a series of talks on that, but one of the talks I did was on the fact that there is really one God, one creator at the top of the mountain, and all the various religions or all the villages around the base of the mountain, and all of them have their individual paths, but they're all going to the same place. So it's just how you travel that path. And we don't pretend to know and have the answer that our path is better than your path. So yes, whether you're praying to Sam, or Jehovah, or Allah, or it's all one God. And they actually have that.
I don't know. It hasn't, I was going to say Dawn, it's not, I haven't thought about anybody really saying that out to the public somehow. I mean, you do it, and I guess a lot of...
You want me to get a megaphone and stand? I'm teasing you, Doris.
Do it.
I ran into that in Las Vegas. These poor people were trying to save all these sinners who were smoking and gambling and wearing skimpy outfits, selling you know what. And they were trying to say, repent, Jesus can save you. And I was going to want to say, come out here, Mike, you can save yourself.
And then sometimes I think of our sending airplanes or maybe drones now, and using like a Chinese cookie,
Fortune cookie.
fortune cookies, say, putting little things like that in it. And just dropping them rather than bombs?
Well, you know, if that were possible, if you could write a letter to the White House, that'd be great. I think it's addressed to the Defense Department. You know, Doris, I would really, we try to change one heart at a time, and I would support you. I'm very much a peace-loving man. I'm anti-war. I don't think war serves anything. That's my personal belief. I'm against guns. I don't think guns save anything. Not everybody believes that. And I just left West Texas where you can carry guns openly. And, you know, it's a different belief. I don't force my beliefs on anybody, but I do believe that we can live in one harmonious world. And it's about recognizing that all paths lead to God. Oh, and by the way, we did do that in World War II. We dropped leaflets instead of bombs.
I think I remember that. Maybe that's
Well, I wasn't awake at that time. I was born, but I wasn't awake.
So my question came because he was asking you about the treatment and how many times. And my question is, could it be depending on the faith of each person?
That's a very, very good question. You know, and I've treated for people.
CD number 1 of the audio version of Science of Mind talks exactly about
Matter of fact, why don't you just take that mic and talk about it? He got a gift, which he'd love to share with people. He got a birthday gift from his beloved partner who gave him the audio version of the Science of Mind text. So can you give us a condensed version?
I can. You know, I've listened 2 or 3 times. I drive in intervals of hundreds of miles a day sometimes for my job, so I do spend hours listening to him. And actually, I've listened to just the first one 3 times.
Well,
Because I get so much more out of it than reading. And if you read chapter 1 or in the first text, it is why it works, how it works, and the thing. And the question comes up about why, in healing, why does someone heal and someone doesn't get healed when they do practice on them? And it's not because God prefers one person or another, it's what the person pulls in, what his beliefs are, and how much power he puts behind that prayer that makes a person possibly heal. And not another person. It's because the belief system, because they know inside of them what it's all about. They understand the law, they understand the principles, and it rings a bell.
And let me give you the short version of that.
Okay?
On page 37, I do date. As you can see, that's a proof. It says, the thing then works for us by working through us and is us always. It cannot work for us in any other way. It spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. But it can become power to us only when we recognize it as power. So the faith is very important. If you're treating for somebody and they're just saying no, 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 they're not hearing a thing. They're not changing a thing. They're not open to receive. But you can still treat in your own mind for that person. It just may not show up because they're pushing it away. The door is shut. But then you never know that during the night, they may have an aha moment.
That's right.
So the raindrops are falling on your head.
That subconscious thing.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Anybody else?
Yes, Flora.
Hi, I really like your the service and everything, but I was raised like Catholic Christian, and so my question is, you talk about God, but you don't talk about like Jesus and like, and she said Abraham and Matthew. Why don't we talk about that in the science of mind?
Actually, if you read Ernest Holmes, he's got Jesus all over it. He's a big believer. There's a whole section, matter of fact, I just opened from the teaching of Jesus. So God's running this show, by the way, today. In case you didn't notice, it was no accident. So there's a big thing about Jesus. My personal belief, and everybody has their belief, is that Jesus is a master teacher. Jesus was the example of what the belief in God can do for us. He was the way shower. He was saying that if you do these works, you shall believe. If you believe in these, you shall do even greater works. That's a Bible quote. You shall do greater works than these. Meaning that if you understand that you are one with the divine, that you are one with God, that you too can raise the dead, that you too can move mountains. It is based upon your belief. So to me, Jesus is a very important factor in our life. But he's a way shower. The same way I also believe in Buddha. Buddha was a way of showing about enlightenment. The biggest teaching Buddha gave me was about relieving the suffering. The key to me is the suffering is ourselves. When we relieve the fact that we think we are less than perfect, we relieve our suffering. So there are teachers and many different guys. There, Muhammad. Islam people is really, ISIS is giving such a bad rap to that religion because they believe in the oneness of God. They don't believe that in annihilation. They believe in the oneness of God. And all of that gets distorted by all this media and all this fear that goes on. There is so much love in these. I'm coming on strong. I feel you backing up. I don't want you to back up. But I believe it's very important that we understand there are master teachers, and Jesus was great. The problem is we misuse him. When we think that we have to be saved, that we have to be hung up on a cross, that is such an injustice to us.
Yeah.
It's not about suffering. It's about recognizing the great gift that you are the full expression of God. Jesus had no doubt that he was the full expression of God. And he kept trying to tell us we were the great expression, and our ears refused to open.
You know, I grew up Methodist too, and it was all about Jesus and everything. You know, and I stop on the religious channels quite often, and I'll stop and listen to, you know, some of the Christian faith, and they pray a lot heavily to Jesus. They should be praying to God, and I just can't figure out why they're praying to Jesus so much. Pray to God.
Well, because that's the way
It's
they
like they got
are.
it mixed up or something in my heart. That's how I feel.
Yeah, but that's okay, because you're a religious scientist. There happens to be a Christian who happens to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, to have a little faith of something, to me, is just such a blessing. And Joel Osteen, who has the largest church in the United States, he runs his services in a stadium. Some of my fellow minister friends have a little trouble with him because he's so Jesus and he's well, when I say he's anti-gay, he puts out an anti-gay message at times, but only reluctantly. So I think he does it when he's serving. He's like a politician. He'll do it when it serves his right. But if you read him, he's very new thought. I love him. I've used him in my talks. Because what I know is that there is a good in all of that. So if you want to use Jesus, there's nothing wrong with that. It just, for me, it's just don't get confused that there's a God outside of you. Because when the God is outside of you, you are no longer connected to the oneness. When it's a God outside of you, you are looking from a victim mentality because you want to be saved. And what I'm saying is the Savior you want is within you. And Jesus taught us that.
Thank you.
Oh, look at all the hands.
I will let you know.
Oh, look what you started.
I will let you know that part of Lewis's job is to be my timekeeper. You never know, that man over there, and I call him a man, he's a young man, but he is so talented, he never gets flustered, and he does a multitude of tasks quietly and silently in the corner. And I just celebrate you. And he does this. When he does this, this means I've talked for 15 minutes. When he does this, it means I've talked for 2 minutes. And when he does this, it means shut up and pray. And he did this. So I want to tell you, you got less than 5 minutes, because I just took a minute of it to explain it. So
Okay,
I'll take 3 more questions, and then we'll do this again maybe another 3 or 4 months.
Let's supposing that I'm brand new coming into Religious Science Center. I know
Yes.
nothing about the philosophy, however, I thoroughly enjoyed the service and I felt good when I walked out.
Yes.
And I hear, change your thinking, change your life often. What would you say to someone like that would be the first step in doing that?
Wow.
Ooh.
That is Stump the Minister. I love that, you know, because I don't have a flip answer right away. So what is my answer? And that's really good because that's a valid question. That's what people would say. My eyes are rolling upside. I think Parks has raised his hand, yes?
I have an answer for me,
All right.
Let's
and
hear
that
it.
is
Let's hear it. If Jerry doesn't mind.
the complaint-free book answered it for me.
Yeah.
Because now, whenever I think I'm going to complain, I now am aware of it. And I have never had such an event that propels me to think positively all the time. It's just that little thing about to complain, and then separating a fact from a complaint. You know, it's raining outside, yeah, that's a fact. But if you say, oh my gosh, it's raining again, that's a complaint, right?
Right.
So that, I think, is the trigger to the question that Odie just made. It's something has to trigger in your mind that you now know, you know it.
Right. I think actually that probably triggers for you. It may not trigger for everybody. And I think the question, if I were to respond to a question, and that's excellent, by the way, and I do think the complaint-free world, when you get into it, does change your thinking. It does change your thinking, and it changes your life. I think what I would do is sit and ask them about their belief first, because I would want to know from where they were asking the question, from that source, because I'd want to honor the belief that they have, because they've lived their whole life. But I also want to and then invite them into the fact of what their belief about God was, whether God was an external power or an internal power. And then I would ask them if they could relate to the oneness of God within themselves. And then I would ask them if they were having the life that they dreamed about. Then I would ask them if they had a choice and they had a wish to live a life that was different, what would it be? And then I would ask them how they could see themselves moving if they connected with that power within them to create that dream.
Perfect. That's why you are in the dream.
Yeah.
I didn't stump you.
I think that's also why we invite them to our church.
Yes.
You don't have to learn all in one day, you can just.
No, you don't.
There's
And
so
and each one of you are a teacher.
Yeah.
Absolutely, each one of you are a manifest of God, if you want to. You can say manifest of Jesus. Each one of you are a living example of what it means to spread your faith. And you do that. That's how you, I was going to say sell it. But it is how you sell it. You're not buying it if you don't believe in the product. And the product happens to be God. And the product happens to be the power within you. The product is, do you want to change your life? If the answer is no, then keep doing what you're doing. If the answer is yes, come on back. We got the goods here. And we will share them.
And what, like you said, I agree with you, Parks. What you're talking about is a tool. In my eyes, that's a tool. Just like the tool I use, nothing and no one is against me. I have to say it to myself all the time. When I think someone's beating me up or they're trying to belittle my job or take my job, nothing and no one is against me, and that raises me up. So.
We have one more.
I would just like to say that for many years I've lived with the concept of think, believe, and receive. And it works.
There you go. Woo! And that was free. You didn't have to give any money for that. Yeah.
Who's got a pen? I want someone to write that down. Okay, she wrote that down because I'm going to put
Thank
that
you.
all over this library.
Thank you. So with that, I know this is exciting and this probably could go on for a long time. Somebody's trying to figure out what they could say that might add something. Anyway, how about if we just pray with this?